We'll have our invocation by Pastor Brad Hall. We're going to have our Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Turner.
Let's pray. Father, it's through the name of Jesus that I come this morning, praying, God, for this commission and these leaders of our county. As they meet together this morning, Lord, we pray, thanking you for Putnam County. God, we thank you for a place that we can have the resources and leadership, Lord, we need to live a life that God, you've called us to live. Thank you for the freedom that we have here in this nation. And God, we know that there are going to be issues and things to be dealt with on this day and going forward. And God, we just pray for wisdom and direction and everything. And God, we pray ultimately for your glory. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from last meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes of February 27th.
Okay, we have a proper
Second.
motion. Okay, we have a proper second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those, same sign, against it. Let's move on to Putnam County Library.
That would be, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I could have the floor for just a moment.
you sure
I
can.
just want to say good morning to Miss Rosemary Anderson. How are you? That does a good job for us. Hi, Stella.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Chairman Goddard, and to each of you in your respective
Ms.
places.
Stella, pull the mic.
There you go.
Good morning to each of you in your respective places. This morning, we're going to give you an update on PAL Cooperative. Rosemary is going to give you a synopsis of what PAL is, and I will be assisting her if she needs me.
Actually, I think it's the reverse, but that's okay. I'm Rosemary Anderson. I'm one of your two delegates to PAL, which is the Putnam, I should say, Alachua Levy County Library Co-op. It's an organization a special district that was organized through the cooperative efforts of the various boards and library systems, and organized in 1020. Pardon? 2010, which means we've been 7.5 years in business. The purpose of the formation of PAL was to help the library systems in Levy County and in Putnam County to access more materials, more funding, so that we can improve our systems. And also from Alachua County's point of view, they had citizens from Putnam and from Levy demanding services in their Alachua system because they couldn't find those services in the home library system. So, with our 7+ years of existence, I think PAL has made some major contributions to all three library systems. We have a budget of $350,000 a year, funded from the state library, and we also have a reserve of $350,000 a year so that should the worst happen in Tallahassee, we would be able to operate again for another year or so. Okay, since organizing in 2010, a total of $530,000 has been used in the Putnam County Library System. And in this coming year, we have another $85,000 that's directly allocated to our library system, in addition to other services that the co-op provides that aren't charged to the Putnam County Library System. So, what do we get for their money, our money? We think PAL has done a wonderful job. The first and most obvious thing would be the massive addition of books, audio materials, and the ordinary things that people associate with the library system. This last year, we've spent $34,000 from PAL monies for additional books, audio, and supplies, etc. The second big accomplishment is to provide and maintain a diverse and interesting list of online services. One of them being Overdrive, and I'm going to read this to make sure I get it correct. Patrons have free access to downloadable ebooks, e-audio books, and they get these services on their tablets, smartphones, and e-readers at no charge. We also have the Learning Express library. It gives patrons access to practice tests for GED, for ACT, for license exams, etc. And of course, we have the typical genealogy studies, etc. So we're very pleased with that, and we will be continuing those services. And the online services are selected by county so that we can tailor it to our audience interests. Thirdly, the question comes, what happens when you can't get the book you want in your library? And in that case, we can help them out. Our Putnam County Library card is now good in the Alachua County system as well as Levy, so if we're close to the border, we can step over and get what we want. But more importantly, we have people with interests of all varieties who are seeking information that is specialized, that is not generally what you might find in a community library. And then we can call on the interlibrary loan system. And so people are able to get their reading needs satisfied overall in a much larger way than a single library system of our size could ordinarily provide. Okay. We also have gained in support, excuse me, for specialized programs that are directed to children, youth, and teens. We all know and appreciate, I'm sure, how important it is to give children a start and promote their interests, their reading skills, and get them involved in the use of the library. And so PAL has provided special support for our Teen Week program, such as Teen Tech Week, that's not easy to say, Makerspace, and STEM, science, technology, engineering, etc., workshops. And also we have had particular and very useful support for our summer library reading program that is directed to even younger people. And we are able to provide performers and backup materials that make the programs more compelling and bring the children into the library and out of trouble out of the library. So we're very grateful for that. Also, over the years, PAL funds have increased our capabilities with equipment. There's a wide format printer used to create posters and banners for marketing community and library events. AWE early learning stations. These are, I am told, preloaded with educational games directed to the interests of quite young children. How young? 3 to 5. And then also we have 3 Mactop Pro computers, etc. And finally, we have a happier, I hope, certainly more knowledgeable library staff. PAL is able to provide training sessions and workshops, both across the PAL district and also specialized in systems for particular needs. Our administrator is very knowledgeable in writing grants and helping people write grants, and I believe she was very helpful in. Speak up. You're the expert. We only provide the money.
We just received a $10,000 check for an innovation grant to help make the makerspace even bigger and to bring in more people to do mostly oral history. So we're actually going to set up a recording studio in one area of the library.
So a lot has been going on, and these programs are basic to today's library service for all age groups. And as I mentioned to you, in this fiscal year, we have $85,000 directed specifically to Putnam to help us carry on those programs. So I hope you think that you're helping create the Powell Library Co-op was worthwhile. We certainly think so, and would be happy to try to answer any questions you may have. Chip has a familiar question.
Well, you know, I was skeptical of this program when it came out. I thought the larger county would dominate the funding, but just the opposite has occurred. And I commend both of you for the level of technology you brought to our library system is as good as it gets anywhere in the country, and thank you for that. And these monies have allowed that to happen, and we truly have a great system. And we thank you.
I was aware of your concerns early on, and Alachua has been a terrific one-third partner.
That's right.
It's a third, right down the line, and that is very important. And at the same time, we can individualize the areas in which we need financial support. So that's our story. I hope you like it.
Thank
And
you.
again, we'll answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you.
No question.
Good.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you very
To add
much.
one other thing to the PAL Cooperative, through the PAL Cooperative, 6 employees have been able to attend a program called SILI. SILI is Sunshine State Library Leadership Institution. This course costs anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000 per person. We've been able to attend these programs free of charge at no cost to the county through PAL. So with that being said, I think that to me is worthy all by itself. It's an awesome program, and why they call it SILI, I still can't figure it out, because basically it's really just a leadership program. And you have 6 certified people in the library system that are certified statewide. So I just wanted to-
Congratulations and thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This time, we're going to have a proclamation for the St. Johns River Water Management, and I think Mr. Press Tompkins is going to present this.
Good morning, Press Tompkins, Public Works Director. It's a pleasure to present this proclamation to the Water Management District. They're one of our great partners in all the work we do, and I guess you want me to read this proclamation out.
Yes, sir, or I can.
I'll be glad to do it if you
Okay.
want me to. Putnam County Proclamation Number 2018-26, Water Conservation Month. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida Water Management Districts in Putnam County are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation. And whereas Putnam County and the state of Florida has designated April, typically a dry month when water demands are most acute, Florida's Water Conservation Month to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas Putnam County has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events, and whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water, and whereas therefore now, Putnam County Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim the month of April as Water Conservation Month in Putnam County, dated 13th day of March 2018. Board of County Commissioners, Buddy Goddard, Chair, Tim Clerk of Courts. And I have Water Management District here to accept this proclamation.
Okay. Do I
Mr.
hear
Chair,
a
I would
motion?
Move forward a motion to accept this proclamation.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion moves. Yeah.
If I may, on behalf of the St. Johns River Water Management District, my name is Jim Troiano, and really for all 5 of the water management districts in the state, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, we really appreciate the leadership of the county, designating April as Water Conservation Month. This is the 20th year that April will be designated as Water Conservation Month. Although we have a great partnership, and we really do, we work very well together, and the district certainly appreciates the cooperation and the efforts that we're able to do collectively. That's only part. We really have to look at our citizens and truly empower them to conserve water, not only for today, but our future, because that is our precious commodity. It links us all together. And if we can conserve that water and look towards our future, we will continue doing great things together. So again, on behalf of everyone, we certainly appreciate your commitment in designating April as Water Conservation Month. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you for your partnership with our county, too. Thanks. At this time, we're going to take a recess and go into our solid waste collection disposal. All right, we have approval of minutes,
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes.
and we
I'll
have,
second.
we have proper first, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Let's move on to the appointments to the Solid Waste Adjustment Committee. Are there any?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I've contacted Mr. Hodge, and he said he would be agreeable to continue serving on this board. Also, I would like to nominate Ed Killebrew for the other seat on the board. And it is my understanding that this was one of the positions that my predecessor held as commissioner. I would be amenable to taking over that responsibility if the board requests, so that's all I have on that.
Okay. Any comments?
I think it's gonna probably have to be done by vote, isn't it?
Motion, yeah.
Yeah, it will.
Okay.
Well, when you're finished, I'll move a
I'll-
motion
I'll-
forward
I'll entertain a
in
motion.
support of Commissioner Turner's request.
Okay, so we have a proper motion
Second.
and a proper second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so it moves. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. Thank you, Mr. Turner. Do we have any new business? Seeing none. Any old business? Seeing none, we'll close that portion. We'll move to the Port Authority. Again, approval of minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have proper first, proper second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's approved. Any new business?
I'll just jump in here. Last meeting, we were talking about a potential business leasing the barge port facility. We have had further discussions. We had a meeting with them yesterday, I guess it was, and we made a few revisions to the lease, and it's looking promising, and I believe we'll have something to bring before you at your next meeting in 2 weeks.
Is it 2 weeks?
Yeah. 25th.
Mr. Chairman, I have just a
Yes, sir.
question. Council or whoever the responsible party might be, it might be Mr. Tompkins, but the crane that we own out there has to have an annual inspection on it. And I'm not sure we've done that, and I would hate to lose some business if we weren't able to use that crane. Can we look into seeing if it's up to date? Okay, that's all I have.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
on the same note, we probably need to see if there's any maintenance items that need to be done that would keep us from losing the ability to use it in the future if it turned out we needed it, so.
You bring up a good point, Commissioner Turner. I think the bulkhead is probably in need of some type of repair after the storms. I remember talking briefly about this, but I'm not sure we did anything to correct it.
I don't think we did. I think we did, we discussed it.
Mr. Chair, just a quick note here. Absolutely, we are looking at several different things out there at the barge port at this point in time. Certainly, we'll look at the crane and the maintenance records and whatever else might need to be done. As this is becoming a focal point for this commission, we're going to make sure that we're prepared to move forward whatever type of business we might be able to generate out at the barge port.
Very well.
Okay. Any old business? Seeing none, we'll close the Port Authority meeting, and we'll move to public comment. Just when you come up front, you need to give your name, your address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. We'll start with, I have quite a few that's going to be for the animal control, so if I call your name and you didn't put animal control on here and it's going to be on animal control, let me know and we'll put you towards the end.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
if I
sir.
could, point of order. I think you have to reconvene. Did you reconvene our regular
Yes, sir.
commission meeting? Is that?
You need to read.
I didn't hear
I
it.
thought I did. We'll reconvene our regular board meeting,
There you go.
I need to make this
Now you
official.
can go.
Very well.
and we'll go to our public comment. So I have Deanne Churchill. Deanna Churchill? Okay, then I'll set that over here. Zenny Best? And I see that you have two here. One is for the Mental Health Clubhouse, and the other one is the Radical Study. Now, I know that because you're covering two
I'm
here,
covering
I'll give you 3 minutes
two
on
issues,
each.
Two completely different issues.
Okay,
The
pull
first
that
issue-
close to you and give your name and your address.
My name is Zenny Best. I live at 200 Hayes Drive, Interlachen, Florida, 32148 is the zip code. I and my wife and so many people in our county here suffer from mental illness. Mr. Sharp, God bless him, he passed last month. He was the director of our clubhouse, which was supposed to open on the 15th of March. We're looking for a director now. We have the building, we have everything in place. We were supposed to open, and he, God bless him, he's gone. We'd like the commissioners, everybody in their respective places, to help us find a director for our clubhouse. Clubhouses are needed because people with mental illnesses don't know what they need. And you get out of the hospital and you go back into the same environment. I had a survey I took around, I had 1,000 signatures. When you get out of service from the hospitals and clinics, you go back into the same environment. The clubhouse will give you some place to go if you have a mental illness every day. Every day you will have some place to go. You don't have to go back into the same environment that got you sick from the beginning or has something to do with getting you sick. And we make sure that you can support yourself with the agencies that are involved in mental health recovery. We know Social Security, we know they will come to us here if we have a location where we can meet. At this point, we had one, we just lost, we didn't lose it, but we're looking for a director. And all other medical issues, the doctors can come to us. We don't have to scatter to Gainesville, to St. Augustine, to all these other places. We're looking for a director in our county here that has grassroots here. And so far, we had 3 people on our list. We went to the health department. They're reaching out to everyone they know. We went to Azalea. They're reaching out to everyone that they know. So God bless us. Please help us find a director.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I know that there's been a lot of motion for finding a replacement for Mr. Sharp, and that's going to be difficult to do. Did you also want to speak on the radical study groups, or is that?
The racial study groups.
Okay, racial.
Racial study groups, and I want to thank everyone. It's so sorely needed. We don't understand each other. We're separated as far as color is concerned, as far as thinking is concerned, as far as growing is concerned, as far as occupational growth is concerned. the study groups that I've attended, I've been to like 6 or 7 of them in Palaca here, they do work. You get a clear understanding of what might be holding us back from shining brighter than we're shining already in this country. We have an airport, we have a harbor, we get all kinds of people, and in these study groups, you hear what's on other people's mind, what holds them back, what keeps them from being the people that the county we need to be, and to be even stronger than shine lighter than we are now, is all understanding. And I praise you, commissioners, for even considering and having it. We sit down once or twice a week in different parts of the county. We meet and we talk about things that hold us back from being who we are, or we're afraid to say something. We'll study this a little bit more once we get down the road of how these racial equality groups fortify the spirit of our county here. And it does work. If I sit down with you, Mr. Commissioner, I'll come out with a better insight of who you are, how you got to where you need to be, how you got to where you are. And you'll know more about me, how I got to where I am. And in all of this, we heal each other. Thank you.
Mr. Best, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Liable.
On the director's position, if we can go diverse back just a little bit, is it a volunteer position?
At this point, I heard a comment that they might, the city, the county might come up with a salary. It wasn't nailed down, but it's so crucial at this point that the county and the city, if a salary is involved, we'll see.
Yeah, that's not what I'm after. I'm just trying to get a feel for what the position needs. What are the duties of the
Social
director?
work.
It's needed, I agree.
Social work. Going to get people that have mental illnesses. A lot of us are reclusive. We stay in the house. We stay in the woods. For example, I went to a mental health board meeting some 8 years ago. I stood up in the meeting and I said, a lot of people I see here that have mental illness are homeless. One of the board members said, some of them like to live in the woods. That was someone on the board. So you have an idea of how just out of touch some of us are. And that's what we have to bring closer together. We're all human beings. We all live the same way, and we respect each other. And with the clubhouse, I heal from you. A person that comes in, we have the same illness. Or another person that comes in, admires you for dealing with your illness the way you do. They stick to you, they come to you, they gravitate towards you, and out of your own heart and what you've been through, you help them along. Medication is another primary factor. Most of us don't know. You have to find the right medication that works for you. And you don't know this outside of the clubhouse. You take what the doctor gives you. But if you're around other people that have the same illness that you have, you can talk. You can sit down. I had cancer a few years
If
back.
I could, Mr. Best, if I could interrupt just for a minute. So getting back to the director, the skill sets can be from a social worker's background or somebody that is particularly diverse in dealing with homeless folks.
Not so much homeless people, mental illness.
Okay,
That's
all
the
right.
factor. You have to have some kind of ground-rooted. That's what we're looking for in our county here. Someone here that has grassroots here, that knows the issues of our community here. That's what we're looking for first and foremost. But if we have to bring somebody in from the outside, we have a board, and we stay close to what works. I was a city employee. I was ran over by a tractor trailer truck some years back. I didn't know what mental illness was. I closed my eyes and went to sleep. If you have a cut or a scratch or a broken bone, you wake up the next day, it gets a little better. The next day it gets a little better. With mental illness, the most fascinating thing about mental illness is everyone else will know something is wrong with you except you. But if you get around people that know of mental illness, you help each other.
We'll see if we can help. The sheriff's listening,
Thank you.
his whole
Thank you
department's
so much.
here, and we know it's an important issue, and we'll try to help you find a director.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, let's, next, Lorraine Douglas. Yes, ma'am. I think everything I got left here is animal control. Again, just let me reiterate your name, your address, and limit to 3 minutes.
You'll see on your monitors, as I think, there is a video. It is actually a surveillance. I think I know how to work this, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to work this one.
Have we reviewed this video?
I haven't reviewed it. Miss, have you reviewed this?
Okay, we're not. Hang on a second.
Well, I don't know how to work it, but he put it on the monitor.
What?
I
Please
am not
comment.
aware that this video has been distributed.
I was trying to distribute, it's on here, the media man, but it's okay. I have another distribution of a letter.
Okay.
The surveillance video is actually of these dogs that we're discussing on East Cowpen Lake Point Road. And it shows them attacking the person or following an attack of the actual person. But you can see it at your leisure later. So I have to pronounce my name. My name is Lorraine Douglas. I reside at 181 East Cowpen Lake Point Road, Hawthorne, Florida, in Putnam County. I wish I had something positive to say today, but I am unable to do that. Something in Putnam County is deeply broken, and we are here today to assist our elected officials in trying to fix what is broken. That specifically is how to deal with vicious or dangerous dogs. According to Putnam County laws and codes, a vicious dog means a dog which attacks other dogs or animals, or which has once bitten or otherwise physically attacked without reasonable provocation a human being. A dangerous animal means any animal that has aggressively bitten, attacked, or endangered, or has inflicted severe injury on a human being on public or private property. I am not sure how many incidents must occur with the same vicious dogs in Putnam County before serious action or removal of the dogs from the neighborhood is accomplished. There have been 3 incidents in our neighborhood with 3 specific dogs, and they are all documented. One is a letter dated October 2016 from Ann Rogers, which you now have a copy of. One is a surveillance video that shows these 3 dogs pursuing a victim into the gate of a resident in the neighborhood to ward off a second attack from the dogs that just bit him. The police and animal control were contacted immediately following this incident. The third is a vicious attack to another victim that is in this room today. Thankfully, he is strong and was able to defend himself and escape from the dogs after being bitten several times. The police and animal control were once again contacted regarding this incident. This makes 3 incidents, and the vicious dogs continue to live at 106 East Cowpen Lake Point Road, 2 houses from the school bus stop. The children in our neighborhood must walk past this house to get to their school bus, as this is a one-way in and one-way out neighborhood. We are pleading with you to please help us help you in removing these dogs from our neighborhood before anyone else is attacked or possibly killed. Imagine if you and your children lived in our neighborhood and they had to walk to school, the school bus past this house every morning and afternoon. This is a disaster waiting to happen. We have an extremely urgent situation and it needs a solution now. Please take action to protect your citizens of Putnam County. Thank you for your time, and I'm not sure how to deal with the video, but that video is proof that these are the 3 dogs that are continually viciously attacking our neighborhood. And
Right, but the video will have to be previewed before it can be shown in here.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I could, if we could get a copy, if you'd like to share that with our animal control folks as part of
They
the-
already have a copy.
Okay,
Tim
okay.
Cannon, the one whose surveillance video, he sent it to Animal Control.
Okay, just
which
want to make
is
sure we have
part
a
of the
copy.
problem.
We'll use it and see what we can do for you.
Okay,
Absolutely.
yes.
I'll be happy to give you the flash drive, and you can keep it and share it with each other.
Thank you.
It's on the monitor. Thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Willie the Lucen, if you would. I know that you were the one that was actually bitten.
Hi, good morning. Willie Thelosen, 129 East Galpin Lake Point Road, Hawthorne. I have some pictures I'd like to share with y'all if you don't mind me approaching. And
Take him to
they're a
town.
bit graphic because they were the bites that I received from these dogs. I'm here today not because of this particular attack, but it's spurred it on. I feel like it's not safe to live in Putnam County because animal control does not seem to be enforcing the ordinances to the full extent. And this is just one example of what's not working here. You have adequate animal control, I feel, adequate animal control ordinances, but they're not being enforced. And I'm going to give you a couple examples. As Lori spoke about in our neighborhood, that's a very good example. They have the power to have strict enforcement. In this case, I sustained severe injuries according to your codes. I could read what the definition of a severe injury is. Severe injury means any physical injuries that results in broken bones, multiple bites, which I received at least 7 bites from these dogs, or disfiguring lacerations, requiring sutures or reconstructive surgery. If a dog has, and according to your ordinance, if a dog has not been declared dangerous, attacks and causes severe injury, which I received, the dog shall be immediately confiscated by Animal Control Authority and thereafter destroyed. Animal Control refused to confiscate these dogs. They also, under another ordinance in Animal Control, they can confiscate the dogs because of a bite for the quarantine period. They refused to even do that at the very least to protect the health, not just the safety of the residents. If those dogs had disappeared during the quarantine period, I would have had to gone through rabies vaccinations. The dogs have attacked multiple times. It's on their record. The first time that they caused a severe injury, Animal Control only did a bite report. They didn't investigate. The Animal Control is not enforcing your ordinances, and we beg you to protect the health and safety of the citizens of Putnam County by enforcing your ordinances. I know the county is working on revising their animal control ordinances, but you have adequate ones on the books right now that are not being enforced. When we contact Animal Control, they're very combative. They're not cooperative. They seem to side with the animal owners, not the citizens of Putnam County that they're here to protect. The animal control officer I spoke with told me if I wasn't careful, I was going to be charged with harassment for asking simple questions and submitting pictures to her of the dogs being off leash when they were supposed to be in quarantine. I just beg you to enforce your ordinances because somebody is going to get severely hurt or killed just in our neighborhood. And I've reported another dog that displays dangerous behavior.
I need to speed you up because we have a lot to cover here. And after everyone gets through their comments,
Yeah.
I'll have our codes come up and speak.
Okay, do you have any questions for me?
Is there any questions?
Okay, well, at this point, I don't feel like Putnam County is a safe place to live or to have a family, and we're seriously considering moving to a different county because we can't enjoy our lives. We can't walk our streets. We're prisoners in our houses.
Okay. Yeah, I hate to hear that. But it's not rampant across our county.
I can tell you it's rampant in our side of the county.
But
Sure.
I will give our department opportunity to speak.
Okay.
Right now, I need to move you along and move to Deanna Churchill.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hey.
My name is Diana Churchill. I also live at 129 East Cowpen, Lake Point Road with Willie as my partner. I wanted to open up with a quote by Albert Einstein. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. This is the second time that these animals have been allowed to remain at their house. When Willie was attacked, the owner ran out and saw Willie, who is in amazing shape. He's a marathon runner, covered in blood. And the first thing she says is, "My babies." To me, that doesn't sound like someone who is going to put the safety of a fellow human above their own animals. And yet, she's allowed to keep all of her dogs at her house. If we can't count on animal control to protect us, which they certainly have failed in protecting our small community, we now come to you to ask for help.
Okay, thank you very much. Carson Bird.
Hi, my name is Carson Bird. I actually reside in Clay County, 6668 Brooklyn Bay Road. But I've come to speak on the animal control. As an owner of a large and powerful dog myself, I feel it necessary to express my opinion on this matter. Public safety is at risk, and that's the most important issue. My friend was attacked by 3 dogs in his neighborhood close to a school bus stop while he was taking a run. He suffered multiple bites while fending for his life. Neighbors in the past have had encounters with these dogs as well. The last victim received bites that required stitches to mend, which I understand meets the description that Chapter 6, Section 633 of Article 2, written by Animal Control, deems as a severe injury. By law, Animal Control has the authority to euthanize dogs that give severe injuries, yet these dogs were quarantined in the past and then allowed to roam free once more. This is exactly what's happening again. My friend received multiple bites, which also meets the criteria of a severe injury, yet these dogs still stand. There are pictures that document both cases. I've seen them. I've seen a video that Lori outlined as well. My question to y'all, I guess, would be, why are these dogs still alive, and why isn't Animal Control enforcing their ordinances? Luckily, my friend Willie wasn't a small child, or else it could have been a worst case scenario, death by dog. So that's my 2 cents. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much. James Pritchard.
Good morning. I'm James Pritchard. I reside at 137 East Cowpen, Lake Point Road. What we've heard is a couple of my neighbors have been bitten by dogs in the area. My wife was bitten by another dog during Thanksgiving and had to have rabies shots. But what I want to talk about is, what is the county doing to enforce laws in our part of the county? And Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding that you are our representative. So I would ask, what are you doing in the county to protect the citizens of Putnam County on the most western side? We have drug dealers openly walking up and down the road. I've heard rumors of dog fights. You know, it's systemic that there's a problem on our side of the county. The only time I've ever seen law enforcement was when Willie was bitten. They came out. So my question is, what are we doing? What are we doing to protect our citizens? Somebody's going to get killed. Somebody's going to get hurt. Now, you may say we don't have the manpower, we don't have the money to enforce laws. Give me a badge. I'll enforce the damn law. I'll do it for free. I'm a retired Army officer, been to combat. I'll handle it. But I know if I handle it, it could get ugly. I'm not going. I'm not a vigilante, but I'm upset because my family lives out in this area. I have dogs. To be honest with you, sometimes they're off leash because they're in the yard and we're in the lake. My dogs are not aggressive. If they were aggressive, I would want somebody to put them down. So I don't know what my time is. I actually have a minute, so I'm going to give it back to you. But my question is, what are we doing to protect my family and these other families? Thank you.
Okay, yeah, we'll address this after this. Karen Chadwick?
Karen Chadwick, 179 West Strickland Road, and I live in West Putnam also, and we do have a dog problem out there. About 2 years ago, a big white pit bull, just super muscular, was looking in my sliding glass door, and my little Jack Russell was barking, wanted to get out there. You know, I keep my dog fenced. And these dogs come into our yards, and they go through the trash. I set my trash up. I hooked it up so it can't be knocked over. There's always dogs running around loose. A couple years ago, there was a man over towards Hawthorne, an elderly man that was killed in his yard. The dogs ripped his arm off. I have an elderly neighbor. I worry about her walking out in her yard all the time. There's always dogs running around. I called animal control, and they said, if it's on your property and you don't want the dog there, just shoot it. They won't come out. They won't do anything. It would be very hard for me to look a dog in the face and just shoot it, you know. So I put it in, I got a weapon and some milk bones, and I lured it into a dog kennel I have, and I called the police, I called animal control. They won't do anything. And I know money's a problem, but people are getting attacked. It's getting worse. There's dogs all over the place. My neighbor finally took the dog. We called all the neighbors. Nobody knew whose it was. I don't know if it was a runaway fight dog. It was all scarred up. It was the worst one I've seen, and it would not leave. My neighbor finally came and got it and took it somewhere, but we do need some help out there. I know we're way over there, but somebody's going to get killed. And Willie got really torn up, and nothing's being done. It's put on the citizens, the residents, to take care of themselves. It's like the Wild West. They want us to just go out there and shoot whatever dog's on our property. And I know these people. They're nice. They're animal-loving people. They don't want to just go out and kill people's dogs, but they don't want to get torn up. You know, some kids are going to get attacked, and I don't know how that would come down on the county, but it could be a legal issue, I guess. And I have a question on, it says animal control ordinance, April 10th is on the agenda for this afternoon's workshop.
Yes,
What
ma'am.
does that mean?
Yeah, it's April 10th is next month.
Right, but it's on the agenda for the March 13th, 2 o'clock
This just,
workshop.
I can answer that, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
What that is it's a notification that on that particular date of the advertisement, we'll have a discussion of the animal control ordinance. It's not on the 2 o'clock agenda for today. That's notification of an upcoming meeting.
Okay, because it was on the agenda that I got for this afternoon.
Yes, ma'am,
said
it
March,
is, but if
so
you
it was a
look
little
at,
confusing.
well, if you look down there, it says upcoming meeting.
Right.
It's a meeting that's scheduled to take place next
Uh-huh.
month, and we're just notifying our commissioners of this coming up.
Okay. Okay. Maybe you could put something in the paper and let people know that they can't just let their dogs run around loose. But we definitely need some help out there. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Winston Fletcher?
Good morning. My name is Winston Fletcher. I live at 122 Francis Church Road, Palatka, Florida. I want to also speak today about animal control, or technically the lack thereof that I've seen. On Sunday, March the 11th, approximately 10:45 a.m., I was on the southbound lane, County Road 315, in front of address 335 North County Road 315, when I was charged by an aggressive dog that was unleashed, unrestrained, and was free to roam, which is considered an animal at large. This animal backed me up across 2 lanes of traffic coming in both directions and had me backed up into the bushes. I struck the dog in the nose with my water bottle. It snatched the water bottle from my hand instantly and was still charging. The dog walked back across the street, and then now 2 dogs that came out of the yard were now attacking me. I was once again backed up into the bushes with nowhere to go because there was a privacy fence behind me. Good Samaritan, who I do not know, but did get his name and address, used his vehicle to try to run the dogs over, having to come into the yard across the street, and protected me that day. I called 911, authorities came out, and what they said is no crime was committed that day because the dogs did not bite me. I pulled a record for that address to see if these dogs have had any reports in the past. They've had 1 report, 2, 3, and 4 other reports. Dates 10/10/16, that case number was not available. Dates 1/19/17, case number 180. On date 4/20/17, case number 817. And on August 23rd, 2017, case 1728. These dogs, and the one in particular, has killed 2 other animals and has bitten someone before. That's been on record by Putnam County Sheriff's Office. 4 times this dog has been allowed to be at large. It is considered a dangerous animal under Florida Statute 767.11 and County Ordinance Chapter 6, Section 619. I don't feel Putnam County Putnam County Animal Control is doing an adequate job on follow-through, nor do I feel the persons handling these cases are taking the necessary precautions to protect the public. This could have been a child. There are schools in the area and also a public park not too far from the area. I request immediate reevaluation on why dangerous animals are allowed multiple attacks and not addressed the first time. Request the county immediately recognizes this grave concern to the public's well-being and to their health. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Newman.
Hello, and thank you for everything. Karen Newman, 148 Tucker Lake Road, Melrose. I'm here for the animal control issues also. I don't know that many people in Putnam County, but in the last 3 weeks, 2 of my friends have been bit or attacked, Willie and Winston both. So I'd just like to say, let's expedite some enforcement here, if we can, please. Enforcement in what regulations we have. There are obviously dangerous animals that have attacked both of them, and nothing's happening. When I call animal control, they just say, oh, it's under investigation. And that's all they're not doing anything. They're not doing enough. They might be doing something, but they're not doing enough. They're very dangerous. Anyway, thank you, Chip, for responding to my request. I sent some regulations from Pasco County and also Alachua County. If we can adopt those, that'd be great, because both of their ordinances are very, very good, very well written. I've sent them both to Chip. Sent one today from Pasco County. Do you have any idea when the new ordinances are going to be adopted? And whether we can have public comment to say, can we add this to it?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, the ordinances are currently being drafted. We've got the Animal Control Subcommittee working on it as well. Once that ordinance is drafted and in place, then we'll bring it to a public meeting, most likely at a workshop for you folks to be able to have input and discussion on, at which time that meeting would be advertised, and we would invite all the public, if they would like, to come in and have any to at least review the ordinance and have some input if you so choose. But absolutely, it will be presented at a public meeting.
Okay.
And if I might add, that the Animal Control Advisory Committee really is really the best place to start, because they're, preparing the initial, they're taking public's input,
But they're not enforcing the
advising.
laws they have now, doesn't appear.
the advisory committee that's working
advisory
on the
commission,
ordinance.
It's not animal control?
Correct.
Yeah, there's an advisory committee that's helping draft the ordinance, and they're taking input from our citizens, so that's a great opportunity and a great vehicle for you folks to be able to have some input on what is actually being crafted to put in front of the Board of County Commissioners.
And how do we find out who's responsible or who we can contact for that? Would it be animal control?
We will, if you'll contact my office, you can just ask for Ms. Amanda Gabriel. That's my executive assistant. We'll get you some contact names.
Yeah.
Okay. Any
Okay.
idea when this is going to happen?
Next week.
Next week, and it might get adopted when? Within a month or within
Well,
a year?
we're not bringing the ordinance back to the commissioners until a workshop next month.
Next
So,
month, okay.
that's, you know, at least then, and so we'll have discussion at that point in time. So you've got some time to get in touch with them and have some dialogue and see if there's any concerns that we might be able to address for you.
Okay, if we're not able to attend that meeting, is there another meeting that we can, or another
There
workshop?
will certainly be another public advertised meeting to adopt the ordinance here at the Board of County Commissioners Chamber. The initial conversation will be in a workshop. So yes, it will have to come to this forum here for approval.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
If I
Stephanie?
could, Mr.
Yes,
Chair,
sir.
real
Go
quick.
right ahead.
Yes, Ms. Newman, I will send you the dates of all that. You just sent me that this morning, and anyhow, things have slowed up because there's some considerations. That's all I want to say on that, but it's for the good.
Okay, Stephanie Greathouse?
Hi, my name is Stephanie Greathouse. I reside at 7513 Northeast 222nd Street in Melrose. And I actually don't live in Willie's neighborhood or know him, but I heard of the dog attack, and I spoke with my son Jacob, who's 12 now, and he asked if either he could speak or I could speak on his behalf. So I brought a picture of him so you know who he is. Jacob was at a babysitter's last year that his father employed, and the neighborhood was known for having some dog issues. I had heard that it wasn't safe to be out riding bikes or whatnot. However, he was out riding bikes with some friends, and the friend was bitten first by the dog. There was actually, the person had 4 dogs, 2 were in the fence and 2 were outside of the fence. His friend was bitten and was really afraid. He approached his friend, and then he was attacked by 2 dogs. His chain had come off his bike. They were trying to get the chain on so they could get away from the dogs. So fortunately, he had a new pair of jeans on that day. And he had a dog on one leg, a dog on the other. It was a hill. He was able to ride off. But as you can see, even through his jeans, he has bruises and bite marks. And of course, the pictures were taken about 4 days after the attack occurred. But more so, those wounds healed pretty quickly, but the psychological and emotional wounds are still there. Jacob is afraid to walk in our neighborhood, which is a different neighborhood. He doesn't want to ride his bike. He really has a fear of dogs now. And I just am asking that there could be changes made. I don't know if possibly dog owners could be hit in the pocketbook. That could be effective fines, additional liability insurance. But those dogs were confiscated that attacked Jacob for 10 days and returned. And that's kind of like, well, the dogs go on sabbatical. I mean, how is that going to change the owner's behavior? But I'm concerned because in Putnam County, you should be able to walk in your neighborhood, jog as a child or adult without fear. And I also had an incident years back at another location in Putnam County where I had a very large pit bull approach me. I was walking 3 of my dogs. They were just pound puppies, labs. And I had Jacob was 3 at the time. And I was very afraid. So I dropped my dog's leashes and they fought with the pit bull and I headed home. I did not file a report. The next week, that same dog attacked a neighbor's horses. And one of the horses ended up dying from complication. The dog attacked their legs. So when the deputies were there, I signed a report, and that neighbor, who was a convicted felon, retaliated, and I had to consequently file a restraining order against him. Now, at that time, the animal control, they took the dog immediately, and it was not returned, and the deputies also helped with that restraining order. But I'm just concerned that my child is afraid to walk in the neighborhood, and I think twice about jogging or going out. It is a fear, these animals, and I hope there's something that we could do so that our citizens would be safe to exercise, play, whatever. So I just thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Please come forward.
got a friend down at 119 East Cowpen Lake, and these dogs they're talking about keep running.
I hate to interrupt you, but your name and address is important.
My name's Edgar Calvin Taylor, 112 Bay Street, Hawthorne, Florida.
Thank
you. Out at 119 East Cowpen Lake Point Road. I go over to a friend's house there, and these dogs that attack people run the lakes on 3 different occasions. They've tried to attack me, but I've had something in my hand to keep them away. And this lady will do nothing with her dogs. She just lets them outside, lets them run, and will not do anything with them. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to comment that, yes, please keep letting us know what's going on. You know, we can't correct anything if we don't know about it, so we do appreciate it. Any other public comment? If there is, please come forward, state your name, your address.
My name's Greg Spires. I live at 182 East Cowpen Lake Point Road. I have 10 grandkids. We have one way in, one way out on a road, unless we decide to do it by water. My grandkids like to ride the bikes. They like to run around. They have friends around the neighborhood. These dogs have barked and screamed and hooted and hollered with us just riding down the road. Now, if they attack one of my grandkids, I won't be in front of y'all. I'll probably be at your hotel run by the sheriff, because I'll take them out. That's not a threat. I don't mean to be anything bad, but damn it, something's got to be done about these dogs. Willie's, as you can see, is in a hell of a lot better shape than I am. He's much younger than I am. If them dogs would attack me, I don't know if I'd have made it. We got to do something about these damn dogs. Please, look into it very seriously, and let's get this done. Thank you.
Okay. And let me just mention, I think I speak for all the commissioners up here. If there's a problem, actually an email is by your best. I can't even believe that I'm saying that at my age, but I have found that the email is most effective. If you send us an email, we will forward it to the right people, and it does get answered. Our emails are very easy. It's our commissioner's first name dot last name putnam-fl.com. It's very simple. If you have a problem, you can call the commissioner's office. They'll give you the address. Is there any other public comment?
Okay, Mr. Chair, when public comments over, I'll address
Okay.
these concerns.
Okay, seeing no more on public comment, please, Mr. Suggs.
Yes, sir. Been taking notes here this morning. There are some things that are currently, I know this is probably an inappropriate term for some of you sitting in the audience, but there is an ongoing investigation on some of them, so we won't comment on those this morning. However, I would like to say to the commission, as well as to our citizens that are here today and who will watch this live on television at home, is that we are very much aware of an increase in issues within the dog world in Putnam County with the number of bites that we're receiving and the complaints that we're receiving. So the thing that we'll be addressing is we're certainly going to be looking at the ordinance and what we can do and change and maybe bolster some penalties within that ordinance and give us a little more, not just discretion, but the actual legal ability to do what we need to do to remove some of these dogs from our community. So we'll be addressing that. I'll be working with as the county administrator, working with our staff and animal control on what we can do and need to change as far as maybe some of our techniques as far as customer service, ordinance, whatever we need to do to address these concerns. And those are things that we're going to be addressing in the near future. As you know, you got a new ordinance coming. My only comments here this morning, I hope are intended to let those folks that are sitting here today know that you are heard and you are heard loud and clear, and that Putnam County and as your county administrator will work with our staff and with our ordinances and with our commissioners, do what we can to hopefully eliminate some of these concerns that we have. Those folks that don't take ownership or responsibility serious, that are allowing their dogs to run free, have to shoulder some of the responsibility here. We can't be everywhere, but I tell you what we can do, and that is respond to your needs, and that's what we will do. So you can look forward to some changes in the near future as far as Putnam County and animal control and the services that we provide. However, we also need to educate those folks that are dog owners that they have some responsibility, and they need. That's the young man from Clay County, not even from Putnam County, came over today to share. You know, he's a responsible dog owner. So unfortunately, we have some that aren't, and it is our duties and responsibility to address those concerns as we can, and we will address those concerns. Moving forward, we got a new ordinance coming to the county commissioners, and hopefully we'll have some teeth in that ordinance to allow us to do some more things. And so stay tuned, and we will take this very serious, and we will continue to move forward on this issue.
Okay, thank you. This time, we're going to close public comment. We'll move to the consent agenda. Gentlemen?
I have none to take off today, Mr. Chairman.
I have none, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Lible?
The same, none today.
Mr.
All
Pickens?
good stuff.
I just have E. I'd like to pull E.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll move to E. Do what, ma'am? No, I was going to have our department, which Mr. Suggs has answered that we will be moving it. You know, we have ordinances being presented now. And that you were invited to come be part of the meetings that we're having. And please, you can stay in contact with us.
Yeah, we moved on.
This is closed. I just, you know, you can contact us, contact our office, and we'll continue with that. Right now, we're on to the consent agenda. Okay, Mr. Pickens?
Yeah, it's like either Quinn or Stacy Manning or Stacy Papel, just to elaborate a little bit on the contract, and then about the funds, if we don't use those funds this year, if they'll be able to roll over if we don't get the fire station built in this fiscal year, if it rolls over to 19, and those funds would be saved, forbidden we couldn't build the fire station.
You want to take it?
Are we done pulling?
The only one we're pulling is E.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not automatic that they'll roll over. We've been assured that there would be a reappropriation, but it's certainly not automatic. So I've been in contact with staff and, you know, telling them that we need to make sure, you know, as we're going along, that we're requesting the draws, you know, at the benchmarks where we're able to do that. And then at the end of the current period in the agreement, we need to make sure that we've covered all of our requests for all our expenses at that time. The woman we've been dealing with at the state, you know, so they understand that these types of direct appropriations are uncommon, and they're learning along the way, along with everybody else, and that they certainly understand that it, you know, it's unlikely that anybody would be able to finish some of these projects within the 1 year that the appropriation covers. So they certainly do expect then a reappropriation the following year to cover whatever the difference is, but it's not guaranteed.
Okay, where are we if we don't get it reappropriated?
We've got a partial complete project. So however far we get done with the money that was appropriated and spent up to that date.
Where are we on the project? Is it possible to complete it? I mean, we probably should understand that. Quinn, do you have any idea?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your question, Commissioner.
Basically, what happens with this contract if we're not able to complete the fire station in this fiscal year, does the money roll over to next year? And Stacey Manning was indicating that it's not a given, they'd have to go back out for reappropriation. So I was just wondering where we are on this particular project, and could it be finished by the end of this year?
That is our intent, certainly, to finish this project, or at least all the milestones where we would need a draw. There may be an avenue that we're waiting on the water line. It's not a grant issue, it's the water line coming in, and we would get the CO once we hook the water up. That kind of housekeeping is what I would call it. But our intention is fully to move forward, which is why we're moving this contract, intent to fund contract, before we get the actual funded contract, which will come after the legislative session, and the State Fire Marshal's office has time to work through that. But Stacey Manning and myself have been in contact with them. We're not the only county in this timeline. Clay County, there's 6 or 8 others that got funded through this process, and we're all working together to make sure that we do have enough time to fully complete the project.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Pickens, for bringing this up to talk about it today. We had an extension when we first got it, and I believe it takes us to September of this year. Is that correct?
It went back, what we've asked for that, and through the legalese, it had to go back to the legislators to amend, and my understanding that is exactly what the State Fire Marshal is working on.
And it's my understanding that the fire stations that were to be built throughout the county are going to be the kind of cookie cutter approach from the Bostwick Fire Department.
Correct.
So we really don't need to go out for engineering and all that. We can pretty much move pretty quick once we start breaking ground. Is that how you understand that to be?
We would have to have an architect, obviously, to meet the code and to have plans submitted for this particular location drawn to that. But it should be a much smoother process and shortened process to do, which is why we're hoping to move this forward.
So I asked you this morning if you envision a building sitting there by September of this year.
That is certainly my intention, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Turner.
Exactly where are you at on it, Chief? I mean, you just said you have design, and I understood that the Bostwick project may not have gone as smooth as glass, and I think I'm putting it lightly. So, are you planning on trying to actually make that same project reoccur for the other fire station when the project in Bostwick didn't go so well?
The Bostwick issues were water management issues and floodplain issues. It was not a station design issue. When we went into the project, we all know where the station is now, that nobody envisioned it right behind where it was going is in a floodplain. And there was nothing until we did the study with the water management to even find out that that was the case, which is, we don't believe or have any information that that is the case on this piece of property. It appears to be very different. We've already looked at some of those preliminarily, so I don't envision the same issues.
Have you had civil drawings done on the new place yet?
Not yet, but we have a civil engineer ready to go on that and make sure we don't.
Well,
that's one of the first.
At the very least, I would suggest that you did core borings there. I mean, we can hire Universal Engineering out of Gainesville just like the civil people would, and then we'll at least know where we sit as far as is the soil suitable to do what we're fixing to do there. Costs hardly any money whatsoever, and it could be done within a week or two. So I would highly suggest, if you're trying to speed this up, that'd be the first call you make.
And that's why we already have a civil engineer ready to go, and moving this forward will help us get to that point that we can bring that contract to you all also.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
You know, Mr. Chief Romay, you and I spoke this morning about the news last night. We saw St. Johns County is growing 60% more by the year 2035 or something. This is a tremendous corridor for Putnam County. And I can only see good things with the water going out there, and appreciate that. And the fire stations. So I know time is of the essence, but I'm convinced you'll see a building sitting there in September somehow. So I thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. That's the end of my comment.
Okay. Any other comment?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move approval of the consent agenda items A through M, please.
Okay, we have a proper approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a proper first, proper second. All those in favor of consent agenda A through L?
M.
A through M.
M.
Excuse me. Do we have approval?
What's the
Do we,
confusion about M? I don't see
It was
that.
it was an addendum that was added to.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. So
Just not-
items A through M on your consent agenda.
thank you very much.
No problem. No more
Okay,
questions.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All those against, same sign. Okay. Consent agenda approved. We'll move to Mr. Tim Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple items today. First, I want to let you know that we, the county received 2 more payments from FEMA from Matthew that totaled $128,806, and that, from our estimate, is the last of those monies that were owed to the county for Matthew. Now on to Irma, right? So, yeah. And then two things I would like to announce is that right now the Clerk's Customer Service Center is holding an Amnesty Week. This is an opportunity for anyone in the county that has some indebtedness to the courts and has had their case turned over to collection agencies. We will waive the collection agency fee this week, allowing folks to get right with the court. And what generally happens in many of these cases is there's a driver's license that is suspended because of those non-payment of cost. And this gives them a chance to get their driver's license back and clear those up while saving a little bit of money. Also, on April 12th, we're going to hold a Passport Day. That is on a Saturday. The Customer Service Center will be open from 9 to 2. This is an opportunity for folks that might not be able to get to our office during the week to come down and apply for a passport. 2 things. One, travel season is going to come up pretty soon. It generally takes between 3 to 5 weeks to receive a passport once you've applied for it. The later you wait into the spring, the longer that takes because the passport office in Miami is busy with issuing passports. Also, in May, the cost to acquire a passport is going up. So this gives you a chance to get your passport now at the current price. Those passports are good for 10 years. Also, once you have a passport, if you go to the tax collector's office to renew your driver's license, it minimizes the documents that you have to take with you to renew your driver's license. So a lot of reasons to get that passport. And those are the items I have today. Did you have any, Susan? Thank you. That's all we have. Thank you.
Mr. Smith, you said April 12th is the past?
Yes, April 12th, 9 to 2.
Will you be taking pictures that day too? Or
No,
we
you'll
bring-
need to bring your pictures
your own
with you.
pictures?
Yeah, get those at any of the local, usually CVS or Walgreens is a good place to get them. Bring them in.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
All right. No comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
at what point do we think we'll know the amounts of the FEMA charge contribution that they're gonna pay back to us and for all the different aspects, solid waste, road department? I mean, I don't know that we have a final number yet, do we? Or, I know we're working on it, but I don't know if we have final numbers yet, do we?
I believe all that, and if Ryan's in the audience, I believe we have all the paperwork turned in for the cost associated with Hurricane Irma, but I am not confident on when we can tell, we might have a date for a notice of what may be attributable or not.
Yes.
Before
Good
you-
morning, Ryan Simpson.
Before you start, Ryan, can I
Yes, sir.
finish, please? I appreciate you coming up, and yes, you're the man we want to talk to, but I think that what we need to do is, before we start putting any pressure on our legislative, like last year, in order to get our money from Matthew, we went and stood up in front of the Florida Coalition or Florida counties. We also contacted Congressman Yoho's office, Senator Perry's office. We talked to Senator Bradley to help us because he's just north of us. We also talked to Bobby Payne, who helped us quite a bit also. And we were one of the, best I could tell, we were one of the first counties to get our money because of that pressure that we put on them. Not ugly pressure, just because we contacted them and asked them and explained how badly it was needed, with us being a physically constrained county. So my point is, and this is the question I'd have for you, Ryan, or Mr. Simpson, is that at what point have we filed to where we can start asking for reimbursement and not get the answer, well, I'm sorry, you still haven't turned this in yet?
Sure. So, good morning, everybody. Ryan Simpson, Interim Emergency Management Coordinator. Our office is working directly with our FEMA Program Delivery Manager, as well as each one of the department heads to ensure that our project worksheets or our county claims are entered into the system as they relate to IRMA. To answer your question directly, we can make a request for reimbursement on a large PW as soon as it's entered and obligated in the system. And currently, right now, the county's working to get supporting information into the system so that PWs can be obligated. So once they're in and they're obligated, then we can request reimbursement. Small projects, however, don't require request reimbursement, but large projects such as debris and other projects over 123K, I believe, do require a form of request for reimbursement.
Would it be possible that you try to keep us in the loop as far as where you are? I would personally like to know when we can start asking. I know right now, some you can, some you can't. I'd like to know when you think we're prepared to start asking without getting the answer that you haven't gotten that far yet.
Sure. I'd be more than happy to provide the commission and administration with reports as frequently as you'd like with the status update.
Well, as frequently as you think we need to have them.
Sure.
I mean, this is important information for all the members of the board where they can start talking to the other legislators and see what we can get started.
Absolutely. I'd be glad to do that.
Mr. Harvey?
Mr. Simpson, while you're here, thank you for all your work on this. Do you have a kind of a ballpark number of what we're looking at right now total that's going to be an outstanding claim?
No, I do not.
Okay.
However, I can following this meeting, I can go back to our damage assessment template to give you a general estimate. However, I don't have that information right now.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a question for Mr. Simpson, if I could.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. There were projects that were submitted that haven't been funded or completed. What's the time frame that those would need to be completed for that disaster that you could still expect reimbursement?
So for uncompleted projects as they relate to Hurricane Irma, there's a 6-month period for permanent work. So 6 months in which the clock has already started would be the deadline for uncompleted projects to be completed, like road and bridge related projects, for example.
Yes, sir.
So, reiterating on what started this today, do you have an estimate on the date that you may have us final numbers on the losses that were sustained that are reimbursable from FEMA because of Hurricane Irma?
I can get you an estimate following this meeting, immediately following this meeting. We did submit what was called the damage assessment template, which was an estimate of all of the PWs in which we anticipate having and the associated cost.
How close do you think your estimate may be? Now, I know that, I guess that's not a fair, don't laugh. I know that's not a fair question, but how close do you think it might be from the estimate you gave back then to where you actually are at the moment? Is it pretty close, or is it panning out to be close?
I think in some areas it's more accurate than others. For example, as it relates to public works, a lot of the projects, as I'm understanding, are are completed or almost completed, and then there's a firm number associated with those, as opposed to, for example, payroll, in which we're accumulating now as it relates to Irma. Those were initial estimates in which may not be as accurate as, for example, the completed work in which Public Works has already reported on.
Okay. So basically, within the next few weeks, within the next few months, what kind of time frame are we talking to try and get us to a point to where we're more accurate with the whole picture?
So once a PW is obligated, then there's 100% accuracy associated with that project worksheet. And right now, we're very close to obligating a number of PWs that relate to, for example, Public Works. I would anticipate in the next couple weeks, working with our program delivery manager and working with the different departments, that we can seek to get a few projects obligated into the system, at the very least, in which you, sir, will have more substantial information.
Do you think that you would be any closer within a week? And the only reason I'm asking that is we have a workshop in a week that we could discuss where we're at a little bit more in depth than we have time to do this morning. I was wondering if perhaps, I don't want to push you so hard that we go in there with no better information than we have now on the other things that you need. So would it be better to put it off a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, or do you think you'll have something in a week? Or
Don't forget that, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Turner, there's an additional workshop scheduled for this month as well, the third
next week?
Tuesday.
That's why I was asking, would you have it ready in a week?
Oh, that's correct, that's right, that is next week, but then if we need to, we can also add it on to the next one after that if we need to. And
Well, the following's transportation, and
we
it's
can-
probably gonna be pretty full, and so if it's not that one, it would be the first one in April, after the first meeting in April, which is fine if that's what we need, you know, to get accurate information and to give you the time to get to that point. So, I just, before we set you up and you be in the same, you know, trying to pressure you, which I'm not intending to do, I was just wondering, is a week not enough? Then we can
I
maybe.
think April would be a more realistic working deadline, in which we'd try to get some more information available to the commission and to administration.
So you said what?
I think you said you had made mention of possibility of further discussion in April as to where we are with that process.
Well, could we possibly put it on the workshop after the meeting in April? The second Tuesday of April?
absolutely, I think that'll give Mr. Simpson time to get back and as you say, get some more accurate information. I think that would be appropriate, and we can certainly do that.
And if you're getting pretty close at that time, but not there, I don't think it would harm anything if we had to put it off a little longer. I just think we need to try to find out where we are on the money. And it's my understanding that that some of these issues, we may not have the money to spend, such as the multi-million-dollar sanitation part of this, where they had to clean up debris. And I understand that we're looking at multi-million dollars, and so we may have to ask the clerk to find us a loan or something to bridge this until we can get the money, if it's deemed by the financial department that we need to do it. So I don't want to come up. My concern is that we're going to wait till the last minute, get these numbers and say, oh my, we can't pay payroll this week. And I'm being facetious. I know we're not going to get there, but we just don't we want to be prepared financially to meet this obligation until FEMA gives us the money back.
Absolutely, and it's been my goal since kickoff of the public assistance process that we work diligently to get projects into the system and obligated, because until that time they can't be paid, and so we're working hard to get that happen.
Yeah, I know you are, and I certainly didn't want to make out like you weren't. I just was trying to pin down where we could get to the next step at what point.
Yes, sir.
And for that, I thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm done.
Okay, Commissioner Lible?
Additionally, I'd just like to ask both of you, Larry also from sanitation, that at that meeting, Commissioner Turner's requested to discuss this, that if we have any additional requests from FEMA particularly on documentation, that we can discuss it openly there. If we're struggling in any way, I would like to know about it.
I can let you know where the debris removal is standing right now. We have submitted the PW for the first 30 days minus retainage. We have submitted the PW for the next 60 days minus the retainage, and for the next 90 days minus retainage. We have submitted all the PWs. The only thing we are waiting for is the DEP closeout of the temporary debris disposal sites. Then we will submit for payment the retainage, and we will have the $4.5 million for debris removal all submitted.
Good job, if it comes through.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Simpson, you said something that I didn't want to get past this if we could. You said the time clock is ticking on permanent fixtures for public works roads. Okay, where are we at in that time frame? Because we can talk about that at transportation this month, but I think we really need to. What time are we into?
Sure. So I'd probably defer to Mr.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Tompkins, would you like to come up and?
As it relates to just the status of Irma damages.
And we can talk about that at transportation this month, and I think that might be the best scenario to do it at, but I didn't want to let that comment pass by.
As far as I know, we have completed all the work we did associated with Irma.
The permanent fixtures
All the
on?
permanent work, all the temporary work, everything we've done that we have charged Irma, we have completed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Manning?
I just wanted to add that part of the reason why it's somewhat difficult for Mr. Simpson to kind of pinpoint a time frame is we're dealing with FEMA, and they somewhat control the timeline on some of the stuff. And what I mean by that is we had a meeting a week or so ago with some of the FEMA reps. And once the county submits PWs for projects, part of what FEMA does is they go through there and then they say, okay, we think this needs to be classified as category, in this instance, C, whereas we think it should be category B. So there's some haggling going back and forth between us and FEMA as far as what we think it should be categorized and what they think it should be categorized, and there's a process. So we're currently in that process on some of these items where we're having a disagreement, and we're trying to get them to see things our way. And if they don't, then we can, look at appealing those determinations. So that's why it's somewhat difficult for him to come up with a time frame, because we are in the initial stages of some of this where there is that sort of disagreement. Now, certainly there are other areas where there's no disagreement, and those can get moved through and committed. But in the areas where we do have some disagreement, and I'll tell you, one of the ones specifically that we were meeting on has to do with dirt roads. The county sees those as being classified as category B, which is subject to 100% reimbursement. FEMA was wanting to categorize them as category C. Which is 80-20 or 75-25. And it's because of the dirt roads, and they feel, well, anytime you put the original, you put dirt back on a dirt road, that's a permanent repair, not an emergency repair. That's part of the issues, and permanent repairs are categorized as category C. Temporary repairs, emergency repairs are category B. So of course my question to them is, well, what else are you going to put back on a dirt road but dirt?
Exactly.
You want us to put, wood chips or grass clippings on it, and then you'd consider an emergency repair? It doesn't make any sense. So that's kind of where we're at on some of these issues.
Mr. Chair, if I could, this is what my request is. We could have more discussion in this area, because this is what snags us almost every time.
Sure. And then the other issue that recently has arisen to the top of the froth is whether or not the school board, basically the state has taken the position, and the state and FEMA, that the county should be submitting on behalf of the school board for sheltering activities, which has never been done in the past. So they've taken the position, well, the county needs to do it instead of the school board. Well, if the county does it, then it puts the county in a more difficult position for a number of reasons, one of which is that we would be responsible for that percentage instead of the school board. Is 75, 25, 80, 20, whatever the heck it is. So that's another big area of contention that has just risen up within the past week or so that we're working on. So there are some issues, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Mr. Suggs?
No, I'll yield to Commissioner Turner.
Okay,
Now, this is exactly why I wanted to bring this up today, is for just these kind of issues to be discussed. I appreciate everybody's hard work, but I don't want to come up in August and we're having these same issues if we can do something about them in the next month or two. And those are just exact kind of issues that I want brought out, that if we need to deal with them or help somehow, we need to go ahead and start that process at this point instead of waiting 2 or 3 months and saying, oh, well, we found out about these issues. We can find out about them now, I think.
Absolutely. Mr. Suggs?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Just to follow up and echo, applaud Commissioner Turner and the entire Board of County Commissioners for wanting to have this discussion now, because it's critical at this point as we're entering into the stages of beginning our budget prep for this coming fiscal year. So we really need to get this hammered out as to where we're at. And so I applaud Commissioner Turner for bringing this up today. And also to apologize, the laughter was not at the question, Commissioner Turner. It was I was feeling the pressure from Mr. Simpson out there at the podium, because this is a very fluid and an ongoing type of project, and it's going to take a little more work to get this project report put together to get us a little closer to where we're at. But it is certainly a report that is certainly needed in order for us to be able to move forward for this fiscal year and plan for next fiscal year. So again, thank you, Commissioners, for bringing this up, and thank you, Mr. Simpson, for getting that prepared for the April meeting, the second Tuesday of April. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comments? Quinn, you had a comment?
You need to be building a fire station.
What's he doing here?
What are you doing here? You need to be out there with a shovel.
Real quick on this very issue, I was in a meeting with the Fink Regional Administrator from FEMA a couple of weeks ago. I brought up the issue with those last 2 projects that we had not gotten funded, and she assured me we were going to get the funding released, and it happened. But we had very frank conversations, me and the other state representatives, at the RAC meeting, the Regional Advisory Council meeting, with her and her staff about the cumbersome processes that we're having to go through now. They're aware of it. She's also tracking our local issues, so I think we have an advocate there that can help us if there's anything or if we need some additional help. But we talked about these very issues, the school board issue, the others that we're talking about. So I just want to let you know we're also working other avenues just besides the regular avenues to get this done.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. Let's go to Mr. Suggs. Any comments?
No, sir, I have none at this time.
Oh, appointments, yes, sir. All right. Very good. I'd already moved past there. All right, any appointments?
I have none.
I have one.
Okay, Mr. Lible?
I have Mr. Donnell Wilkerson to the Animal Services Advisory Committee, better known AKA as Bushel.
Is that?
It's not even on here.
Do we have an opening on
So do we have an opening, Chip?
Mr. Chair, we'll look into that if there's an opening on the Animal Control Advisory Board. Is that what?
Oh, I'm sorry, it didn't show up today.
No.
Yeah, we do have one, I know, but
Okay.
that's all right. We can continue it.
it? Fine choice.
We'll put it in.
Fine
Yeah.
choice, yeah,
He's willing to serve.
good.
Okay. Mr. Pickens?
I have none.
Mr. Turner?
I have none, but I would like to discuss a moment. Did anybody ever get a chance to contact Mayor Hill to see if he wanted to continue on the Affordable Housing Committee? We had asked last month, I think, if he wanted to continue or not, and we did get a, I guess, a description of what you needed to do to be on that committee, but I don't know that anybody ever just straightforward asked him.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Turner, when Mr. Reynolds was still the interim city manager at the city of Palaca, I had made an inquiry, and I know Mr. Reynolds had reached out via email. I don't know, I haven't received any response back, and Mr. Reynolds said he hasn't received a response, so if it's the will of the commission, I'll see if I can reach him via telephone.
Well, I would appreciate it.
Absolutely.
As one of 5 commissioners, I think it would be a good idea to reach out to the mayor and ask him, does he want to continue on that? And if not, we can start looking for somebody. Also, I was contacted by a member of the Fishing Fund Committee, and I think they're wanting, as the other 2 commissioners feel like they can, they're wanting someone from the other 2 areas on that committee. I think they're having an issue that part of the rules for that committee is they need a quorum, and with the members that are currently there, they don't have a quorum. So they're meeting for no reason other than to trying to set the framework. And with if the 2 other people get in there, whoever they may be, then they may want a different framework, so they may be meeting for nothing at this point. So that's their concern. If the other 2 commissioners could perhaps, at their earliest opportunity, maybe try to find somebody to sit on that committee with our current people.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other appointments?
I have none, sir.
Okay, we'll close that. We'll go back to Mr. Suggs. Any comments, Mr. Suggs?
No, sir, I'm still good to go.
Okay. Mr. Manning?
If I could briefly, as everybody knows, it's an election year, so we need to talk canvassing board again. As you all know, the canvassing board purpose is to basically count the votes, certify the elections, along with supervisor of elections. He's here. That board is made up of the supervisor of elections, a county court judge, and the chairman of the Board of County Commissioners, unless any of those particular individuals is unable to serve, is a candidate who has opposition in the election being canvassed, or is an active participant in the campaign or candidacy of any candidate who is opposition. I've spoken with the chairman, and he is able and eligible to serve in his capacity as chairman on the canvassing board. But we do need to have an alternate appointed. It is the chairman who does make that appointment. Obviously, Commissioner Turner and Commissioner Liable would not be eligible because they're on the ballot. With opposition, Commissioner Harvey is also on the ballot, or may or may not have opposition. At the moment, nobody has filed, but he also has an interest in another campaign. And Commissioner Pickens as well. Obviously, his wife is running, so he certainly will have an interest in that campaign if he knows what's good for him. Anyways, so that leaves us with an alternate that needs to be appointed, and this is, again, is by the chairman, and the alternate needs to be a qualified elector, who again is not a candidate with opposition, and is not an active participant in the campaign or candidacy of any candidate with opposition in the election being canvassed. The reason why I bring this up right now is I've had some discussions with Mr. Overturf. There is a training coming up in April that canvassing board members and I as well, we go to. It's very very good training. It's very important for the canvassing board members and the alternate member to be at that training, and he's trying to go ahead and make reservations for that training session coming up. So with that, I would ask that the chairman, if he has somebody in mind that he has spoken with that he would like to appoint as the alternate, if he could do that now, or if he needs a little bit of time, he could do that in the workshop this afternoon.
Okay, I should have an answer this afternoon. This person I have in mind is checking to make sure that they don't have a conflict with their schedule for the 20th to be to go down there, and I should know by the workshop.
All right.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman, also, you probably should, whatever individual you have in mind, ask if they given any money to any political campaigns in the last year or so, I think.
That won't disqualify him.
Oh, that won't?
No, mere monetary contribution does not disqualify. It has to be active participation, and that is somewhat vague term, the way it's been interpreted by this elections department. Monetary contribution does not apply, but certain things like yard signs, bumper stickers, holding a campaign, what would it?
Doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, carrying signs or having
Sometimes something may not be legal, but it just doesn't look right if it's done. So it would just be best if that individual didn't, I think.
I agree. So if that individual, if there's a question, certainly I'm available to discuss that at your pleasure.
Okay, yeah, I should have an answer by the workshop.
And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Lible?
Commissioner comments at this time?
Yes, sir.
All right. I want to hawk the Putnam County Fair if I can. We'll be starting off this Friday night. And, of course, every year I try to get staff within our working area to donate to the 4-H and FFA programs, the steer and swine show. And I encourage all of you to do so. If Miss Amy Purpore is the fairgrounds manager, you can deal with her directly, or if you want to give me a big fat check, I'll take it to her. So we do that every year. A lot of newcomers here, but that's something that we've done in commissions past. I'm not saying we have to, or any of you department heads feel like you need to encourage these children. But we're one of the last old agricultural fairs left in the state, and we should be very carry that prideful that you're encouraging these children to grow food and products to be consumed for human consumption, and I think that's ultimately important. It really is. So anyhow, if you can help out, please come see me, and we'll get the kids some reimbursement for their effort of showing these animals this year. Thank you.
Mr. Pickens?
Thank you, Chip. I'm already, Mr. Chairman, I'm already getting some letters from the participants with pictures of their either cow or pig and things like that. So I think it's a neat deal. So I just want to recognize Rosemary Anderson and Miss Stella for the update on the PAL cooperative and the things that are going on in our library system to just make it better. It's a very, very important part of our county, and I just appreciate the hard work, Miss Stella. Thank you.
Mr. Turner?
I have none today, thank you. I was gonna talk about the fair, but Mr. Lible beat me to it. The one day that I wanted you to start at my end.
Well, your private business has been very, very grateful to those students, and I need to add, and let's do it together, Commissioner Turner. I don't think we're breaking any sunshine here, but these children, they need money for the food for these animals, and what we're doing is add-ons, and any of you that donate, it gets distributed evenly amongst the contestants in the fair, which is a good way for us to do it, because if you pick out a child or two, I've done that before. I've bought a swine before, and I've had some people mad at me as a result of that. So this is fair and equitable if you want to participate. Thank you, Terry.
Mr. Harvey?
I have no comments today, other than I want to say this. It is truly a delight to be sitting here at this time in this place. And I want to give staff the kudos, Mr. Suggs, Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Manning, Ms. Popel, and all of our department heads. I do see that there's a new day coming, and it's already here, and it's a will-do atmosphere and can be done, and I appreciate it. Last week we were in Melrose, and we had some little hiccups out there, but everybody kind of rolled up their sleeves and got it done and got the job done. And Mr. Suggs, thank you publicly for taking the lead on that and getting that done. And Miss Angie, thank you also. And press, thank you. So it's just a cooperative effort right now from everybody, but it's surely a pleasure to be here. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Miss Stella for the greens that you brought me. Mustard greens, I appreciate it very much, and thank you. So that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Well, I want to thank the Sheriff's Department for being out there so diligently in our county. You're really doing a tremendous job, and it shows. The public is very pleased with what you're doing. And I wanted to, I just beg everyone, take a time to drive through our county. We have one of the most wonderful counties there is. My wife and I just thoroughly enjoy riding all over the place here in our county. And there's always something to be done on the weekend, and I wanted to thank the Public Works for getting some pavement done over there at our fairgrounds, which was very necessary. With that, I hope
Mr.
everyone...
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Over here.
Over here.
But I'm sorry to interrupt you. I didn't mean to mention earlier that we are having a tax deed sale this Wednesday. It's our monthly tax deed sale, and it is scheduled to be our last live tax deed sale. After that, they will be online sales, and we have a training opportunity next Tuesday on the 20th in the afternoon for any of the public that would like to come in and learn how you use that online system for bidding. And then after that, we'll have 3 WebEx opportunities that people can sign up for and do the training online if they would like to. But we would encourage anyone that is interested in the tax deed process to come next Tuesday and sit through the about an hour-long training about how to use the system. But it's very nice and should help us to be able to process and move more tax deed sales through the process using the electronic online version. Thank you, sir.
Okay, that's next Tuesday at the courthouse.
Yes. Well, it's actually over in the
Annex?
tax deed building, which is the Old County Commission meeting room. We'll have the training there.
Okay, any particular time?
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, Tuesday the 20th.
Okay. Yes,
I
sir,
would
Mr.
just like to ask a question of Mr. Smith on that subject. How are you gonna collect the money if there's not gonna be anyone there? I thought in order to bid, they had to put up $300 or something per
Right.
tax deed that they bid on
Well,
in
it's
cash.
similar to the process that currently is used with foreclosure sales. You have to post some money in your account prior to being able to bid. And it's up to you to know what your deposit amount would be based on what the level is you're willing to bid up to for a particular piece of property. So most people pre-deposit funds into their bidding account so that that money can cover that deposit that we're required to collect for, by state statutes, which is 5%. So, You know, if you're planning on bidding $100,000, you would put 5% of that in the account up front, and then you have 24 hours in which to deposit the remainder of the money for us to issue you your tax certificate, your tax deed, I'm sorry, not certificate.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments?
Well, there's another part of that. If you are not the successful bidder, those funds are returned to you. So you don't, by posting it, it's just a deposit amount, and so you don't lose any money.
Any other comments? Seeing none, this meeting's adjourned.